More changes. The ever-changing setup in college football changing again, this time with USC marching across the lines to join the Big Ten with UCLA in tow. The move obviously runs parallel to what Texas and Oklahoma did, joining the SEC. I think now would be a good time to go over some of the outcomes, the effects caused by this recent expansion. So, here are some things that are true. Number one, they are already referring to the SEC and the Big Ten as the Power 2. You know, kind of like the Power 5 we've heard for the last 8, maybe 10 years or more. The biggest 5 conferences that had all the money, all the resources, the fans, the stadiums, and maybe most importantly, the television contracts. It was the SEC, the Big Ten, the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12, 5. Well, as of Thursday night, last day of June 2022, the Power 5 ceases to exist. It is finished. Poof. Gone in an instant. The Power 5 in college sports no longer exists. Even the most plugged-in sports journalists are already making the switch. Example, Pete Thamel of ESPN in his Friday, July 1st post-mortem column referring multiple times to the SEC and the Big Ten as the Power 2. As of today, there are 2 conferences with all the power, all the resources, all the leverage, and all the conference marbles. Keyword, conference. Picture this going forward regarding the postseason, college football playoff, expansion, everything major. It's like the SEC and the Big Ten are in the room having a meeting, and the ACC, Pac-12, Big 12 are leaned in with their ears against the door, trying to overhear the negotiating. Number 2 thing that is true, this is being driven mostly by television contracts and TV money. The Big Ten's current television rights package expires in 2023. The Pac-12's is 1 year later in 2024. It's time to negotiate for Kevin Warren and the Big Ten right now with its TV carriers, primarily Fox, who owns 60% of the conference rights. Well, prior to Thursday's announcement about USC and UCLA, the Big Ten had leverage, but not as much as the SEC, for example, who announced 11 months ago that Oklahoma and Texas were headed to their league with a new SEC ESPN TV deal already starting in 2024 that would pay the SEC $300 million a year. But here's the thing, prior to Thursday, the Big Ten, while comparing itself to the SEC, also had to look out west to the Pac-12's TV deal, expires just 1 year after the Big Ten. That would definitely have a role in Fox and ESPN's feelings about their negotiations with everybody. But with the announcement Thursday that USC and UCLA are joining the Big Ten, now the TV networks will value the negotiations with the Big Ten so much more than their meetings with what's left of the Pac-12. In fact, those TV package talks are going on right now, and that's why this expansion was struck and announced now, even before the 2022 season. Number 3, a third thing I believe to be true, the Pac-12 and the ACC messed up when they decided to stall the college football playoff expansion efforts back 1 year ago, back in the summer and fall of 2021. Everybody seemed ready to get going on a new 12-team playoff model. University presidents wanted it, that's important. Heck, the SEC, its coaches, ADs, and Commissioner Greg Sankey were ready to vote yes on expanding before the current college football playoff contract ended, even though the 4-team model has benefited the SEC more than anybody else. Sankey even admitted the league was more or less giving in to what appeared to be best for the whole sport, the whole country, and certainly the fans and television, even though there's no reason they'd be forced to want to change. But needing a unanimous vote to push the playoff change through, 3 voted no. The Pac-12, the ACC, and the Big Ten. Yep, the Big Ten was a third no vote, but only because they weren't in a position of power like the SEC at that time, and it couldn't justify not aligning with the Pac-12 and to some degree the ACC at that time. What changed for the Big Ten? Well, I think over the last 8 to 10 months, the SEC started floating the idea of doing its own playoff and SEC postseason, and light bulbs started going off in places like Columbus, Ohio, Ann Arbor, Michigan, Los Angeles, California. Negotiations began behind the scenes. Big Ten Commissioner Kevin Warren started doing the math. Expand with the Los Angeles schools. And our television footprint would rival the SEC and help us, the Big Ten, stay on their level as a league. One thing led to another, and boom, to heck with the alliance. With the ACC, with the Pac-12, we're taking the Trojans and the Bruins. Hello, power to. Two conferences having control now over the future of the sport of college football. Number 4, and listen to this, it's potentially a huge deal. Pete Thamel put it this way in his recent column. The two big television investors, ESPN with the SEC and Fox with the Big Ten, could potentially tailor a new type of postseason. There's an increased chance of those two leagues exploring a more elaborate conference postseason, a 4-team or 8-team conference playoff, before some type of national title game between the winners. Could that squeeze the other leagues out of the playoff? If that happens, and Pete said there's an increased chance now that it could, then there's only two possibilities for the non-Power 2 conferences. They're either left out of the college football playoff title picture altogether, or they have to reverse course immediately and push hard for an expanded playoff field as soon as possible. That's right, the same conferences that stalled playoff expansion last summer better start lobbying for it now. To put it lightly, not only the Pac-12, but the ACC and the Big 12 too, their world got totally shaken by the USC and UCLA news on Thursday, and the ripple effects are going to be far and wide. And the fifth and final thing that is true. The SEC does not look like it will be adding more teams by dipping into the ACC anytime soon. And even though the SEC could add to its television footprint in states it currently doesn't have, North Carolina, Virginia, the ACC schools in those states, UNC, Duke, Virginia Tech, have their media rights locked up contractually through their conference all the way out to 2036. And it's been reported those exit fees could be upwards of $100 million. And it's also been reported that some ACC schools have already started looking into that possibility and found it's just not financially feasible to make the move, even if the SEC would take them right now. It just doesn't seem like the Tar Heels and the Cavaliers are headed to the SEC anytime soon. But I will say, we shouldn't be surprised to wake up tomorrow and find out that something has changed. Because change right now in the world of college football seems to be the only constant.